My full name is Irwin Michael Cohen. I go by Mike, and I was born in New York City on the 27th of March, 1947. I served with the United States Army in Vietnam in 1967 through 68. Total period in combat service of just over 8 months. My entire overseas service was 11 and a half months due to the severity of my wounds and the length of time it took to get me back to the United States without endangering my life. The highest rank I achieved was a specialist 4th class, which is the equivalent of a corporal. The recording is being done at 1713 Birch Lane in Davis, California, 95618. 95616. Okay. The interviewer is someone who was put in touch with me via a project at school that I felt it was not only would be nice to cooperate with, but also felt that it would be beneficial to me in terms of my moving on and leaving Vietnam in the past, not living with it every day in the present. Am I missing anything here?
Oh, that was great.
Is that pretty much it?
If you could just say the last line. This is the interview.
Okay. Okay, the interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. Okay. Do not ask for personal, I know it says, stage direction. Wow. Okay, I was born and raised in New York, moved to California with my family when I was 16. Never took school very seriously, pretty much child of the 50s and 60s, a bit lazy. School grades began going down, and Vietnam to me might have been on another planet because I was paying no attention to what was happening on the other side of the world. I let my grades slip to the point that I was reported to the draft board by the dean of my college, having dropped out for a month. I was trying to make my own way in the world, and I was holding down 2 jobs and going to school at the same time. Got in some financial trouble as far as supporting myself, and felt that I needed to take some time off school and focus on work. Dropped out of school, was reported to the draft board. A month later, I received a notice stating that I was to report for induction at San Mateo, California, on August 25th of 1966. I had no particular views on the war. I was not for it. I was not against it. I was 19 years old. My main interests in those days were keeping my car running and making sure my girlfriend was available on Saturday night. Beyond that, the world basically could take care of itself. Even when I was drafted, even when I received my draft notice, it still wasn't real. It was, yes, I was going to go into the military. I was going to put in my 2 years because that's what my father did, and that was tradition. The thought about, the noise that was being made about running off to Canada or pretending you were ill or somehow avoiding the draft never occurred to me. It just wasn't something you did. There were people doing it, but there weren't very many. And I thought that was a dishonorable thing to do. I was raised with a certain amount of honor. But again, as far as being for or against the war, I really didn't have an opinion. I still didn't think I was going to be sent to Vietnam. I thought I'd go into the military, serve my time, and get out. That would be the end of that, and then I could get on with my life, such as it was. So I was drafted from the Bay Area, from San Mateo, California, and shipped to Fort Lewis, Washington for basic training. Never could quite get into the whole military mindset. Didn't see myself as a soldier. I didn't see myself as a warrior. I knew I was marking time. I knew this was not going to be my career. I had 2 years to put in, and then they would never bother me again. And so when it came to marching, when it came to drilling and all of that sort of thing, I did what I had to do to get along, but nothing extra, nothing, to make me stand out. Got through basic training, and apparently I wasn't paying much attention, because at the end of basic training, when they assign you your MOS, or your military occupational status, what your job is going to be in the Army, they selected me for infantry, which is what everybody hoped they wouldn't get selected for. In addition to being selected for infantry, I was selected to serve, or to be transferred to a post in the South that was notorious for being a way stop on the way to Vietnam. The name of the place was Fort Polk, Louisiana. And the whole north of Fort Polk was specifically Vietnam training. It was called Tigerland. And Tigerland, everybody came through Tigerland, went to Vietnam. Everybody who came through Tigerland was an infantryman. And you knew where you were going. And, if that doesn't get your attention, nothing will. So I was preparing myself. I was getting ready to go to Vietnam, but nobody really knows what it's like until you get there. So all of my preparations really was preparation for what I thought it was going to be like, rather than what it was really like. Ironically, the class that I graduated with, for some reason, 100% of us didn't go to Vietnam. I think I graduated with a class of 120-something, and of the 120-something, 12 of us were singled out and were kind of cut out of the herd and wound up being shipped to Fort Hood, Texas. When we got to Fort Hood, Texas, I'm not sure about the communication, because they didn't seem to expect us. They weren't sure why we were there. And there really wasn't a need for infantry at Fort Hood, because Fort Hood was largely armor. It was tanks and things like that. So, trying to figure out what to do with us, they assigned us to a unit that was building, that they were just creating. It was the 1st to the 50th Mechanized Infantry of the 2nd Armored Division. And because we had been in the military for all of 4 months, they decided that we were now veteran enough to be able to serve as training personnel, as cadre for a new group of basic trainees. So we were given temporary stripes on our arms and told that when the trainees show up, we're to take charge of them.